Hello everyone, this is Q here. This video recording is from Twitch stream session from August 2020. This is part 1 of 10-ish or so, and the series will cover the entirety of all the rig building process from start to finish. I don't get too deep into the basics, so for those who are unfamiliar with Toon software might have trouble following along. And these were recorded live and unscripted, so there will be a lot of disjointed explanations, and I'm not very articulate, so I apologize in advance. If you have any questions, feel free to leave them in the comments, and I'll answer them as many as I can. And without further ado, here's part 1. Enjoy. It's like really long time ago, and people found that useful, so I'm trying to do an updated version of that, but I'm out of practice in rigging and talking, so I'm trying to do this here. Okay, alright, so yeah, I try to line my character in the center, like so. And I guess the very first thing I like to do is just set up a few guides. So I make a layer, drawing layer called guide. And when you first open up, one kind of important thing is to like kind of clear all the palette that you have here, especially the first one, the black. For some reason, this black shares the same color ID as all the other like Toon scene files that ever gets created. So like if you ever build a character with this black color well, then it's just gonna get shared with all the other like ones that you create. So it's not a good thing. The safest to just delete everything and just create a new one. So I'm just gonna create a green one called guide. I just like to have some of these just so that I have some guidelines. Try to center this as much as possible. I think that about looks okay. I think. I'm not sure. Maybe neck, center in the neck, maybe that's better. But it's important to line up your reference early on, because it's kind of pain to, it's really hard to change the after effects once you like start drawing, like generating the parts. So basically, if I was working, if I get something like this from designer or client or whoever, my first step is to kind of break it down and just plan ahead. So this will save you a lot of pain and struggle later. So you just plan ahead, like how the parts are gonna get broken down. So I designed this character, so I have rough idea of what I want to do, but I still don't have 100% exact like a plan for it. So just drawing through, plan out, and think about whether you, so like this hair for example, right? Yeah, so the goal of this character for me was to make it as simple as possible, or not as simple as I want to make it. So like I don't have too much shadows, or so simple shapes, not too many crazy parts. Yeah, I think there are more rigging videos on Toon now, but yeah, like people, there's still people who seem to find what I made like a really long time ago on YouTube like pretty helpful, but like that was like really kind of amateur. Um, so I want to do an updated one. So with this hair, there's a couple ways going about it, right? Like if you really want to keep it simple, I can keep it a one piece like this, which is fine. But it's not gonna give you too much flexibility in terms of like a movement. So as I plan this out, you know, I just think about how these things are gonna get separated. So there'll be 1 and 2. I might sometimes even write the name, like this will be bang 1, bang 2, or something like that. I guess sometimes I make I make a multiple guide for different parts of the character. So I guess I'll just write this one as hair guide on this drawing layer here. But perhaps I should start with head first. So I'll make a layer called head guide. At this point, I'm not too worried about what's going on in the this node view. I'm just still planning. Takes about like half a day to like really go about it. If it's something that you're not used to, if it's like a brand new show, then if you're used to the show style, then you know exactly how everything's gonna turn out. But in this case, it's all right now all new to me. So, and I drew in on a wrong layer, so that's a pain in the butt. I keep saying layer because I've been on just doing Photoshop a lot more, but yeah, there's a element, the drawing element. So yeah, so let's see, I'm breaking down the head shapes. So this will obviously be gonna be 2 shapes. Something like that. The ear will go something like this. Neck. So right now, the reference, even I have a light table on, like the reference is a little bit too visible for me, so I like to just create something called white layer, and just put it underneath so I can adjust the opacity of it. Okay. That's a little better. Okay. How long does it take me to do a base rig? Well, let's see. If we're looking at this design in particular, 3/4 front, and if I'm starting from like absolute scratch, which is what I'm doing here, and I don't have the full design either. Like I don't have the full design of the mouth, and like so if I include that in a process, maybe like 20 to 25 hours perhaps. Let's see. Yeah, maybe I'll go just basic shapes. Who's my favorite character to draw? You mean like in general with like a fan art type of thing? I don't really, can't really say I have a favorite necessarily in anything, even my own characters. Just I jump around a lot between different characters because I'm kind of bored of a certain style. Okay, so one thing about Toon Boom, if you want to copy and paste, for better or worse, like if you copy and paste here, it's gonna offset a little bit, so for you to just grab it, right? But if you want it on the exact same spot, what I usually do is I just copy and then just go to different layers. Let's say this color layer here, and then I paste it there, and then it's in the same spot, right? And then I cut and then I paste it back into the line layer and then drag it back down. In that way I can have the straight like a center point, but I guess with this character I don't need to do that. So I'm not doing too precise. I'm still kinda in the planning stage. Like I'm just trying to break down what the parts are gonna look like and so on. So with this character, I did try to be as simple as possible. I tried a few like simple characters, but like they're just too boring for me. Like there were like characters, for lack of a better word, like you know, like Cartoon Network style, like you know, this type of character with like simple hair. Like it's super easy to rig, right? Like with the circular eyes, easy to draw, easy to rig. It's closer. It's pretty close to what I have, but I don't know. I just, and also like a torso that is kind of like a one piece with arm that is like a totally detached. Which is also very easy to rig and animate. You know, because you don't have to do any rigging, it's just layered, right? I guess this is more come from like a Flash era of character design. I don't know. It's close to what I have here. It's not too different. But I wanted to make it a little bit more appealing for me personally, so I can work on it without getting too bored. I think I'll put arm and leg guide and a separate drawing element, so I can work with them a little better without affecting the other ones. So this arm, I'll probably, I'm not gonna make two different arms for left and right. I'm just gonna like create one and then just duplicate it and move it over, right? Scrubs, this software is called Toon Boom Harmony. So I'm rigging on the software and you animate on this as well. Is the node view stuff not hard for you? Node view is super easy. Like once you just I'll go over it very quickly. So basically everything gets plugged in, right? And then whatever gets plugged in dictates like what gets shown and not shown. So when you open up the scene, you have this main composite here, right? And then whatever gets plugged to the leftmost side will be at the top, and the right side will be at the bottom. Not accounting for Z depths, that will come later. But if you just plug it in without any peg information, that's the default. And then down here you have something called write module. That's for like when you're exporting like a frames or videos. So there's some options for that. And then there's a thing called display. You can set a multiple display. This is the main one that comes with the scene. It will show you what sort of thing that you can see. So let's say if I make another one called display 1 and plug it into this arm, just this arm drawing here, and then I can just select it and then just see the arm without having to disable all the other ones, and then I can just go back to the display I want to see. So in the animation, this is setting up multiple displays helpful if you have multiple characters in a scene, because sometimes if the rigs are heavy, having the multiple characters on the screen at the same time slows down the computer. So this allows you to just tackle one character at a time. Okay, so arm looks okay. Let's move on. Let's continue on with the body. This body shape is a little bit tricky. Because it's not usually when you would in the cartoons, you just have like a one shape for the top of the body, right? And then you may or may not have the shoulder, but the simple cartoons, you just have the body and then like you just rig the arm right to it. So it would just be like one body shape. But this one, just wanted a little more feminine character, so with the broad shoulders, so it's gonna need some couple different parts. Mike Harvey, the no view was described to me as a 2D dimensional layering system. Yes. I personally see it as like a map to, so it's just like a visual map. So once you start rigging, if you're just doing a simple animation with Toon Boom, just doing hand-drawn stuff, yeah, it's easy to see the layering from left and right, and you can also see it from in this timeline, you know, top to bottom. But then once you start rigging, this top to bottom or left to right may not necessarily like correspond to what you see. So regarding this character here, so we have this arm, right? So if I really want this character to be as simple as possible, I could make the top of the body like one shape. But that will sacrifice a bit of the animation flexibility, and depending on the show, that might be fine. So let's take a look what could be done. Although I don't think I would do it this way even if it was simple. Like it does it makes things a little bit tricky. So if I were to try to do this in one shape, the body would be, I guess, something like this. I mean, her chest certainly gets in the way. So let's say she was a little more kid-friendly. A cup. Maybe it would be something like that. So, but then it also gets tricky if the character like raises her hand, her arm. If the character raises their arm, then you still have to, because the art style is as such that you still need to adjust the shoulder, right? Like a little bit. And at that point, if you just have a one-shaped body to work with, then like you might have to work with the deformers. But you know, it's best to minimize deformer usage as much as possible if you want to keep a simple rig and a like lighter rig. So instead of doing the body in one piece, I have another rig called Katie. I did it like this on her with. Actually, she was a little more complicated than necessary. Because I just did whatever for myself. But this one I tried to make it as simple as possible for other people to understand and learn from, and also for me to use as template. So I'll have a torso like so, and then shoulder, maybe something like that. And yeah, I'll sometimes label it as well. And another shoulder here. Ideally, probably the same shape as much as possible. I'll just rough it in. How did I name these again? Oh, right. So shoulder. I guess F, shoulder. For front shoulder. And then B underscore shoulder for back shoulder. And this one, the main one, will be torso. And then we'll have her chest. I'm not sure if it will need to be this big. I could just have this one side here and then have the shadow separate, so it could just be one side like that. I will maybe that's what I'll do, because if I make the chest like a oval, and I try to keep this simple, right? So I don't want this shape interfering too much with this bow here. Maybe it's not a big deal because this will be just straight on top. So yeah, maybe I will just make this into a one circular shape. So that way the shadow I can just use cutter and just have that in there. So that's the upper body. get to the lower body. Let's do the legs first. That should be fairly easy. And like for me, I've done this enough that I could just like rig right away, but it's still, even for me, it helps to plan this out. And also, like, you know, sometimes you may not always get the perfect design from the client or designer, so this is your chance to kind of like tweak it a little bit. For like this one, I think I made the arm extend too much to that side, so I think I might like try to bring it in just a tad. Maybe about that much. But I do like how broad her shoulders are. But yeah, so I just brought in the arm a little bit because in the back view, I just used the same silhouette, and it looked like this one was a bit too far out. So if I just bring it in like just a tad bit, that should look okay. Okay, so leg. And luckily I designed this as like a rig design. So I kept all the arms super straight, legs super straight. It's not like those like a nice fancy like character models with like slightly posed for appeal, but this is more for like technical usage. So if you just take a look at, you know, even the leg, like the feet position looked a little funny, right? But this is actually like perfectly like symmetrical, just carried over. Once you get into animation, once you pose it slightly, like it's gonna look a little more natural. But for rigging, it's good to be a little more technical and boring side. Oh, guess I also have webcam here. If you just want to see the top of my head while I draw this. Let's see. So circular joints are easiest, because when you rotate things, it's going to be in perfect circle. That's why you see so many like round styles in shows, I think, because it's just easy, and animation takes so long. Even if it's like a rigged character with computer assistant, it still takes very long time to pose things if it's complicated. So we have our leg here. I think that looks okay. Just gonna copy and paste. So yeah, just shift it over. So let's take a look at her pelvis region. This will be one shape. This will probably have a primitive deformer around it, so it's yeah, design wise, having something like in a smooth line like this. It's a little bit tough. What I mean is, if we look at this character. Okay, before I do this, I'm gonna organize a little bit. So I'm gonna put all these guide drawings I made. I'm just gonna put it into a single composite. The ordering doesn't matter right now because it's all like line art. I guess you can grab them all. Yeah, I'm just gonna do whatever. If you select everything and there's a order node view up button, it just kind of does that sort of thing. Okay, so let's see. Okay. So if we look at this character, yeah, you can see her like pelvis goes straight down to the body line, right? So that's a little bit tough to. I mean, it's not that hard, but if you do it some other way, it's like if you design things other way, it's like way easier. So for example, if I had a character like this, and it's especially if she had like a skirt on. I don't even have to worry about this like pelvis connection. I can just throw legs here, and then whatever I pose the legs, I don't have to worry about like connecting these lines, right? But since I went with like this route of having one nice line, if I were to rotate her leg in some way, you know, like I might have to adjust this line, or so, you know, like it is simple, but every movement counts when you're animating, especially if you have like low on budget, short on schedule. So you know, like you know, when you're designing, appeal should come first, but it'll be nice too if you think about some of these things, like efficiency and the cost of doing the business. Okay. So hijack FB, something I actually like my work is where I design change clothes and outfits. I'm curious to know how you go about doing this. Do you have specific type of fashion you're into and reference from? Not particularly, like because like I do like simple form, like I tend not to go like too crazy with details, but it's also good to know where some details are free and some are not. So let's think about it for a second. So let's look at this arm, right? Like her sleeve of the shirt. Right now it's just tapered right inside this shape. So that can be considered, to me, that's like a really easy design, because all you have to do is like just create like a cutter and just put it inside the arm shape. Whereas if you're gonna have a... There's pros and cons to everything, but let's say if she has a little bit more baggier shirt, right? Even this small difference can change the rigging significantly, and in this case it definitely will. So if she had a shirt like this, then now you have to consider, then this arm is one shape, and then you have to create another element for the sleeve. Oh yeah, I guess to answer your original question, I just Google it, I just Google like women fashion and see what I like about them. But I do go for simple because I don't know fashion, and also like I don't like to draw that much complicated things over and over or rig them. So when it comes to my own designs, I go for simple, but I do like the challenge of rigging someone else's complicated design. So if I were to do this, then yeah, I have to create like a sleeve, and then I also have to create like a underneath this black part. So if she was like lifting her arm, then you know, so even that one simple change is gonna require like a couple extra steps of rigging, and also extra steps for the animators. Not a bad thing, it's just something to be aware of. But sometimes having multiple shape can be easy, like I explained with the skirt. You know, if this skirt is its own shape, then I don't have to worry about the pelvis leg connection, right? So I can just just throw these in underneath the skirt, and you know, no one would know. Yeah, I mean, you know, with this character, if I was lazy, I would do a skirt, but since I'm kind of doing this for other people's benefit, and the joints, seamless joints can be very hard thing to do, so especially the pelvis area. So I wanted to keep it kind of smooth, so maybe other people can just kind of take a look. So legs done. Let's go for feet. Feet is basically an oval. I gave it its own shape, so instead of like it being like a flush with the ankle and stuff like that. So it's slightly easier. This will require no like extra rigging. It will just be shoe. It'll most likely be like shoe drawing just on sitting on top of the leg. So we don't need any like a joint or anything like that. But even the shoes, yeah, like I need to plan around a little bit. So this will be one piece here, one shape. This will be its own thing, and then so three shapes, 1, 2, and 3. Yeah, I guess it's been a while since I did rigging for work, but I would used to kind of label all these, so like when I'm actually like generating assets, I don't have to think about what to name them. So even this is like shoe mane, shoe cuff or something. And shoe flap. And then inside there will be a bunch of things, but I don't necessarily need the planning for these because they'll just go inside the shapes. Hey Q, have you ever had a tunnel syndrome before? How do you solve it? Well, I don't know what it is, so I'm going to look it up. I probably had it before, and I probably never solved it. Oh, the carpal tunnel. No, that's one thing I never really get. Carpal tunnel. I guess I'm just because I'm working on a Cintiq. It's like raised up. And I don't draw like super fast. Because I don't draw all that much. Like, let's take a look at this rigging, for example. Like, you're not drawing constantly, and even when you're cleaning up, you're just moving the points over. But sometimes, yeah, I do. My wrist and finger sometimes feels a bit painful when I design a lot, because I guess I'm trying to get a perfect curve, and that puts unnecessary pressure. But it's not a problem that I had too often. But my lumbar kills me though. So that's another thing that I need to worry about. But the wrist, yeah, it's for the people from my friends who had like carpal tunnel or like wrist problems, they just stretch it, like do these type of stretches. Let's see if I can my webcam better. So like you would like hold your arm out and then just kind of give it a bit of stretch, something like that. I'm sure there's more professional information out there. Okay, so leg is done. I think we're, I'm kind of at a comfortable place where I can just start rigging. I think. Oh, no. We'll do hair and then that'll be it. Hair, it will be one of the most complicated thing. Even this one I kept pretty simple. So, and I think I plan to keep it simple. If it was just me doing it, I might separate it a whole lot, but let's say this hair, I'll just keep it like one shape, like this. If it was just me doing it, like for myself, or like other, like little more, like actual production, I might separate these. Maybe I will separate this one, because it does, so when you do like hair animation, you can give it a bit of like offset with that hair. So okay, so I'll do that. So this back hair, two pieces. Back hair 1, back hair 2. And then we'll have front hair. Oh, I have to... Wait, do I have the head shape? Okay, yeah, I'm going back and forth a lot, but I'm gonna increase the size of this bang so it will cover the cranium a little better. And let's see, so finish off the hair, we got... I guess I'll also separate the two. Yeah, we'll call it front hair. F hair 1, F hair 2. And the ear, I've been wondering about this ear. It's cute and all. To have that ear out of the... But it does add slight extra level of complexity. Let's see. Do I want that hair? Do I want that ear? I mean, what if I didn't? What if it was like that? What do you think? Like, it's... No ear. Prefer with ear. Cause thing is, even if the design doesn't show ear, I would still rig it because like if the character's like moving their hair around, like you would see it. I'll rig it with the ear exposed because the way I'm going to do it... Okay, let's plan it. Let's plan this head. So yeah, I would still have to kind of rig the inside. So I would have something like that. Cranium. And as for the ear, yeah, I think it'll be... I guess I'll go with no ear for the sake of simplicity. Because I didn't really design this properly. If I wanted like this hair shape, I would bring it down like this. I'll go with no ear, but it will still be underneath, so that's the important part. I can always change my mind later, but as far as the planning goes, I think we're kind of done. So let's do some rigging. Trying to organize this mess that I have here. Get rid of this guy. Okay. And then in the node view, I just select this group of guide that I have here. And I go over here in the corner with the 3 lines for the drop down menu, insert and backdrop, and I can create a backdrop. And if I click on the yellow square, I get this property window, and I can select the color. I guess it doesn't really matter. I'll just go with red. And I can also label it planet, like so. And we'll start rigging. So when you start a scene, you will have a palette with the scene name up here. I mainly use that to do like whatever planning I need, but if you're actually creating a character, I like to create a whole new palette for the character. So in this case, we'll create a palette called Olive. That's just what I named her. So I create a character, whole new character palette named Olive here. And we also get this one like black default color. Just get rid of that. Don't even look at it, because that does share color ID with like other ones too. Like, so never use the default ones. But I will create a new one and name it line. I'm gonna create a couple ones that I know that I'm going to use. So one's called cutter. Usually call that a green color. Tag, blue color for tag, and maybe the opacity down. I don't know if I'm going to use this, but I'm gonna make a blue invisible one with alpha 0 called alpha. And those are the basic ones. Now I'm trying to remember if I like to set up all the colors beforehand or after. I'll do it as I go. So since this character, I try to keep it pretty simple, is black line all the way through except few parts. So this will be primarily black line, like a style. So we'll go with that. Yeah, node view is like a circuit board. You can plug these different things in, and once you understand, like, they're relatively easy to understand, but once you see it done once, like, if you like that sort of thing, you'll get it instantly. So we have this node view here. I'm gonna create a composite. Go into the options of composite. So with option, you can either click on this yellow box, or Shift E is the hotkey for that. And turn it into pass through. So the difference between pass through composite and this bitmap composite, you can see by different shapes here. So the one on the left is bitmap composite, and one on the right is pass-through composite. And the difference between those two is that if you plug anything into bitmap composite, like I've done here, it basically gets flattened out. Like whatever gets plugged in here gets flattened out. So if you're animating the z-depth, or trying to push and pull like objects in the z-depth, if you're plugged into composite, it basically groups them together, and you won't be able to push and pull these ones in a Z depth separately. But if you put it into pass-through composite, you'll be able to. And then there's a question of like, why would you even have bitmap composite? Sometimes it plays differently for render purposes. But for now, when you're rigging, pass through composite for the most part. And then I'll create a layer called head, because that's what I like to start with. Control P. And then I'm gonna Control G to group all this and name this CH olive as a group. And I'm gonna Control P and then put a peg on that. So that's what it will look like outside in the scene. And now we'll go and we'll work inside the group, so that if I create like a bunch of drawing nodes and modules, it's not gonna be like too messy like what we saw here. So group, you can click on this little arrow to go into the group. And this is like what it looks like at the moment. Another thing, little tip to navigate around these things. So whenever you have anything like peg, node, any of the nodes, if you hold Alt and then drag it, and you can just click it into place. Otherwise you would have to like unplug from the top and bottom and then replug it from top and bottom. But if you can just, if you hold Alt, you'll allow to like just click it in there. Olive. I forgot all the naming conventions for these things, so olive 3/4 front master maybe. Okay. So we're in this head node now, and I'm just gonna basically trace what I've done here. One more important thing is to check with your production or yourself to see what the ideal default brush thickness for pencil thickness for your characters will be. Looking at this character, I did draw her with the, like it's a very sketchy line. It's a lot of thick and thin. But for the sake of simplicity, I want to keep it like uniform thickness, which will murder a lot of the appeal of the drawing that you see here. So we'll see how it goes. But it's something that you can change it after the fact. But I'll go with the simple uniform line for this at first. And I'm gonna try to go with very thin line as well. Size 3. How's 2 look? 2? I'll try with 2. And it's something also you can change after the fact. I think there might be a script to change the thickness of the pencil line for all your characters, but I don't have that one. So if you do try to change it after your rig is done. If you don't have the script, then you might have to do it for individual individual elements, which is not ideal. So it's best to nail things down as much as possible before you start doing them. Okay, so head. I always start with square. Square is the most ideal shape to start with. Unless you're gonna do a perfect circle for something. Square is already closed space. You close shape. You basically want closed shape for most of the things. Like, I don't know, you might see like a really kind of old, bad rigs that like that might not have a closed shapes. Make sure you're on the right color. I made a mistake here, so. But if you're drawing with the wrong color, like, that's not good for you. You're gonna have to go back and change a lot of them. But yeah, closed shape is important to work with. It gives the animator flexibility if you're rigging it properly. On some like older shows, you might see some like sometimes you see some like broken shapes, like characters with like broken like shapes like that, and it doesn't give too much flexibility because like it's so easy to make a mistake. But if it's full closed shape with like proper rigging, then like sometimes the mistake's not as obvious. So hi Q, will you make this VOD available? Ended up, yeah, so this VOD will just be on Switch for like 14 days. I think that's the default. And hopefully I'll just download all of them personally and then edit it down for YouTube if it was informative enough for people. So that's what I'm planning to do with this character. So this character I'll exclusively rig on stream, which well, yeah, I have some time now, so that's something I can do. Okay, so we have head. We have a head. Next, jaw. And when you create a new element, I guess I'll explain some of the smaller stuff. Okay, so there are buttons here on the timeline. I like to use these to create new elements. So I know it's a little hard to see, but one on the very right is called Add Peg, Add Drawing Layer. So I use these two pretty often, and if there's a plus button, you can create other things, but I don't use this too much, but I use this one quite often. So add drawing, it gives you a pop-up menu, and then I'll type in the name, jaw, and if I hit add, it gets created. But if you look at the node view, unfortunately it does not create in the center of your current node view where you're looking at, but it creates it in the center of I don't know, like the scene default center or something. So let's go back and do that again. So oh, okay. So, and it's important to, like, I highlight the, I'm inside the olive group right now, right? So so when I created that jaw, it just created that jaw drawing element just in that outside of the scene. It's just a small thing, but it adds infinitely to the efficiency. So if I don't have anything selected, and if I create this jaw drawing element, where does it go? Well, it goes to the very outside of everything and like puts it here and then plugs it into this composite. That's fine, but it's you know, it's annoying to search for that. So what I do is like I highlight this head, so I'm back inside the olive group, and I highlight this head, and if I create like whatever element or like a drawing layer here, and then it gets hooked up to the like the most like nearest to the what I highlighted, so at least I don't have to search for it too hard, but it still goes to the like center of what the default was. So you can decide to work with the center like that, which is probably good. But that doesn't matter. But what I do is like so I highlight the head, create the jaw element, and bam, it's nowhere here. And there's a hotkey called center on selection. Is O is the default, but I changed to C. So if I hit C, because even if I can't see it, once you create it, it's gonna have it selected. So I'm just gonna hit C, and then it just goes to the that it keeps that jaw element to the center, so I can just bring it back. And just quickly trying to think if it's important to keep that jaw up on top of the head or below the head. I can't quite recall. I'm just gonna keep it in front of the head, and let's create a thing for that. Let's create the jaw, and as always, I'm just gonna do line art right now. I'm gonna like fill it with color later, because if I fill it with like a skin color, like I can't really see any of the reference down here. So I create a square, right? And square gives you the 4 points, and I try to position them in the where they would make like the most sense. So in this case, I just position them like in the like up, down, left, right. Yeah, as closely as possible, and obviously you need to follow the design, so design is the king here. But if you can do it with the few of a point as you can, is the best. So here I'm just gonna have a 5 points. Okay, I'm gonna do that again, and I'll explain the drawing tools here. This is a little bit basic stuff, but you know, it's important to know. So okay, again, rectangle, right? And then I am hitting Alt Q for contour editor, right? And that gives me ability to move these points around. And then you can position them like so. But to save time, and if you hold Alt and drag the point, it's gonna give you a Bezier curve handles that are equal distance from each other, right? Yeah, so Alt, if you hold Alt and drag, it gives you Bezier curves that are equal distance. So that's because by default, the squares are obviously without the curve information, right? So they're there are no curves. So Alt drag is the way you can turn them into curves. So that's what I do. I just position it into a place I want and then Alt drag. And then if you hold Control, so this is the curve at contour editor. If you hold Control, the icon changes, the cursor changes. There's a little plus sign, and then if you click, it adds a point. And you can position that to where you want. So there's that. I'll show you a couple more things about this contour editing tool. I don't need it for that job, but so for some reason you want this to go back to the rigid point, then you hold Alt and click, and then it will go back to, you know, just a sharp corner without any contour Bezier curves. And then Alt drag back to get it the curves again. But once you have the curves out, you can manipulate them however you want. You can grab one end and then stretch it as far as you want. But you might notice that it will always be straight, right? They're always trying to keep that Bezier curve. Handles are going to be straight. So if you don't want that, then by hovering over one of the curves, you hold Alt, and then now you can move it independently, and you can get some, like, you know, sharp corners and shapes like that. Cool. So that's it for now. I mean, for this contour editor tutorial. Okay, so that's the jaw. Cool. Ear. Add. Nose. Mouth. Yeah, as you do this, like, you'll know exactly what part you'll require, so you just, like, add a whole bunch of them. So I'm just gonna do that for the face elements. So F upper lid, F lower lid, F lashes, F pupil, F pupil highlight. What else? F brow, F cheek, blush. I guess I'll just call it F blush. No, cheek blush. It's a little more descriptive. And look at this mess here. Oof. So I try to separate it into composite as much as possible. I don't think composite slows anything down, so okay, cool. So I'm working with the Harmony version 16. So I guess in this version, if you select all the nodes and then you create the composite, it hooks it all for you. But I guess you still have to unhook these. Turn it into a pass-through. The hierarchy is not important at the moment, so I'm not too worried about that. So okay, so I will do this stream for another 10 minutes. If anyone has any question, that'll be a good time. And I'll answer it before I take a break, have dinner, and so on. And I might do it again later. It's 6 o'clock for me. I'll probably try to do it in like 10 p.m. or something like that. Continue this madness. So more composite. I'm just gonna create a whole bunch of these and just try to kind of group it. So pupil with pupil highlight. Eye, brow, ear. Ear can go group up with the faces. Hi, I don't have any donations set up right now. But if you do want to support, I don't know. Yeah, I don't really have anything online sales stuff, but on Twitter I put up Katie Rig, and some people give me like it's for free. You can get it for free, but some people give me some couple dollars for it. So yeah, with this rig, Olive, yeah, I'll put that up as well for free once I'm done. I don't know how. I'll try to get it done this week. I'm trying to stream it every day, a couple times a day. Try to get it done, but I also don't want to rush it either, because creating like a just base rig to this model is not enough. There's a lot of design that goes like underneath all this. So like hands, eyes, not so much with this character. I try to keep it simple. So this one's, but still some eyes, mouse chart, leg position, feet positions, some torso positions, and so on. So yeah, like outside of the rig, just rigging, like there's a lot of asset generation that needs to occur before I'm comfortable releasing it to anyone. So Toon Fox, I shared my Twitter account just above, if you can see it. So if you click on that, there's a pinned tweet. It should be in the very first one, and there's a Gumroad. I guess I'll just share Gumroad. So if you go to my Gumroad link, if you can see it, it's available there. It's messy. Some of the decision, especially regarding her like torso area is like horrendous. Because I was just covering all my bases. Like I don't know what I was gonna animate her like doing stuff, but it's messy. But and especially she's complicated. Like she has a lot of effects going on. She has a lot of shadow effects, blur, and all that stuff. So that's why I'm trying to make this character so I can use it as my own template, but also for easier for other people to at least understand. So it's a little bit hard for you to read all this stuff, but I'm trying to organize all the drawing elements I created into just basic composite form. This will definitely change once I start rigging, but it keeps me organized for the future. So upper lid, lower lid, lashes. It's too soon for me to put a backdrop on it, but just so you can kind of understand what I'm doing here. So this will be like FI group. There might be a couple more elements that I need for it to fully function, but like that's all the asset required at the moment. So let's go start with the eye. So I'll use a circle for this. She's gonna lose quite a bit of appeal because I'm just using circle instead of just like I might change it, but because I wanted to keep it as simple as possible. So let's go with circle or ellipse. And pupil. Yeah, Toon Fox, take a look at Katie Rig. There might be certain parts that, like her arms, you can definitely take a look at like elbow joint. That should be fairly simple. But yeah, it is complicated, but it's somewhat organized. Like because I made that rig after I did some work at on the Final Space Season 2. So it's a little more or less like professionally organized. But prior to that, like if you look at my rig, it's just like zero organization. Like, okay. Okay. So here I'll start to add more colors. So pupil, even though it's same black, you know, sometimes I just like temporarily change the color, so just so that I know for sure that I have the pupil that I'm drawing with is that color well that I named pupil. Hello, the gaming R3X. I'm about to end the stream for now. I'll be back later tonight. So yeah, I'll continue this later, and it will be available on Twitch video on demand. So you can take a look as soon as I end the stream, if that's something that interests you. Yeah, so let's see. Yeah, so 6 a.m. 6 p.m. for me now. So I will try to be back at 10 p.m. 4 hours from now. Yeah, right now I'm mainly on Twitter, so I'll just announce stuff there if you want to check out. Yeah, so that's it for now. I'll be back in 4 hours or so. Thanks for everyone for joining. Yeah, I know it's a bit slow process, but we'll finish it someday. All right.